What if one of the most talked about faces on Larson Farms isn't actually part of the family everyone assumes runs the show? Viewers see him trusted with massive equipment, featured in major moments, and moving like a core member of the crew. But almost no one knows the full story behind Brody Barr. The questions keep stacking up. How did he become so essential? Why do fans constantly speculate about his role? And is there more happening behind the scenes than the videos let on? Because once you start connecting the dots, it becomes clear. Brody isn't just another farmhand. He might be one of the biggest reasons the operation runs as smoothly as it does. Before most viewers even realize it, they start noticing the same person popping up in crucial moments across Larson Farms videos. He's not always the loudest, and he rarely demands attention. But somehow, Brody Barr becomes impossible to overlook. One episode he's hauling grain under pressure. The next he's running high-dollar equipment like it's just another Tuesday. And that's exactly where the curiosity begins. Because on a channel built around a tight, multi-generational farm, audiences naturally assume everyone on screen shares the same last name. Yet, Brody doesn't. That small detail has quietly turned into one of the biggest ongoing viewer questions. Is he family or something else entirely? Comment sections have filled with guesses over time. Some fans assume he grew up alongside the Larsons. Others think he worked his way into the inner circle through skill alone. And while the farm hasn't made a dramatic storyline out of his role, that silence only makes people more interested. But here's what really pulls viewers in. Trust isn't handed out casually in large-scale farming. Letting someone operate complex, expensive machinery or take charge during critical harvest windows signals serious confidence. Whether longtime viewers realize it or not, those decisions speak louder than any introduction ever could. At the same time, Brody carries himself with the calm energy of someone who's been there for years. No flash, no ego, just steady presence. In the fast-moving world of farm content, that reliability stands out more than over-the-top personality ever could. And just when fans thought they had him figured out, something unexpected started happening. His name began appearing in video titles, and the spotlight grew impossible to ignore. You can tell a lot about someone by the responsibilities they're given. And on a working farm, responsibility isn't just symbolic, it's earned. Long before viewers started asking questions, Brody Barr was already stepping into roles that quietly signaled one thing. The crew at Larson Farms trusted him when it mattered most. Think about it. Harvest season isn't forgiving. Timing is everything. Weather can flip without warning, and a single delay can ripple across thousands of acres. So when someone is consistently placed behind the controls of massive, high-value equipment, it's rarely random. It usually means they've proven they can stay calm when the pressure spikes. And Brody started showing exactly that energy, the kind of steady presence that doesn't need an announcement to be noticed. What makes his rise interesting is how natural it felt. There was no dramatic welcome to the team moment, no big introduction episode. One day he was simply there, and then suddenly it seemed like he'd always been there. Viewers watched him handle long days, problem solve in real time, and move through challenges without turning it into a performance. That authenticity is hard to fake, and audiences pick up on it fast. But reliability does something unexpected on YouTube. It builds attachment. The more consistently someone shows up during important moments, the more viewers begin to see them as essential to the story itself. Without realizing it, the audience stopped viewing Brody as background help and started seeing him as part of the engine, keeping everything running. And then something shifted. Instead of just appearing in big moments, those moments started revolving around him. And that's when fans began to understand his role might be bigger than anyone originally assumed. At some point, the dynamic quietly changed. Instead of just appearing in important scenes, Brody Barr started becoming the reason people clicked in the first place. Regular viewers of Larson Farms noticed it almost immediately. Videos began highlighting his projects, his road trips, even the equipment he was running. And on YouTube, that usually signals one thing: the audience is paying attention. It wasn't some overnight fame story. There was no viral explosion or headline-grabbing moment. Instead, it built slowly through consistency. Every time Brody showed up ready to handle another demanding day, viewers grew more familiar with him. And familiarity on camera often turns into something powerful, a fan favorite you didn't see coming. Part of what makes that transformation so interesting is how effortless it looked. Brody never came across like he was chasing the spotlight. No exaggerated reactions, no constant need to be the center of attention. Just a calm, capable presence that balanced out the chaos that farming can bring. Ironically, that low-key personality may have been exactly what pulled viewers closer. In a world where big personalities dominate online content, someone steady can feel refreshingly real. Soon, people weren't just watching to see crops go in the ground or machines roll through fields. They were watching to see what Brody would be doing next. Would he be tackling another massive job? Leading a critical push before weather moved in? Taking on a challenge most people wouldn't want? That curiosity kept viewers engaged without the channel ever needing to manufacture drama. But with attention comes something else. Speculation. Because once a person becomes this visible, audiences start analyzing every detail. And before long, even the smallest change was enough to spark a much bigger conversation. That's when the rumor cycle quietly kicked into gear. The moment viewers grow attached to someone on a channel like Larson Farms, even normal schedule changes can start looking suspicious. And for Brody Barr, it didn't take much. An absence from a few uploads, a shift in who was operating certain equipment, or a title hinting that someone else was stepping up. Suddenly, comment sections lit up with the same question. Wait, where did Brody go? To be clear, there's never been a confirmed dramatic fallout or public conflict. Farms operate in seasons, roles rotate, and people take time off or focus on different tasks. In real agricultural life, that's completely normal. But YouTube isn't always viewed through a real-life lens. When audiences get used to seeing the same face, any gap feels bigger than it probably is. What really fuels speculation is silence. The channel doesn't typically pause to explain every staffing decision or daily adjustment, and, honestly, most working farms don't have time to. But online, a lack of explanation often becomes a blank space that viewers rush to fill with their own theories. Some guessed he was stepping into a larger role behind the scenes. Others wondered if he was simply busy off camera. A few even questioned whether the team dynamic had shifted. Yet, here's the interesting part. Speculation usually follows value. People don't start rumors about someone they see as replaceable. The very fact that viewers noticed his absence so quickly says more than any official statement ever could. And just when the conversation started gaining momentum, another subtle detail emerged, one that suggested Brody wasn't fading into the background at all. He might have been becoming even more important. Right when some viewers wondered if Brody Barr might be stepping back, a completely different signal started appearing, one that experienced YouTube watchers recognize instantly. He wasn't disappearing. He was being trusted in a new way. Over time, Brody began showing up in situations that carried more visibility, more responsibility, and arguably more pressure. And on a channel like Larson Farms, that usually isn't accidental. One of the clearest signs came through brand and equipment features. Companies don't casually place someone front and center when real machinery and real money are involved. Typically, they want someone credible, someone viewers already associate with reliability. So when Brody appeared discussing equipment or demonstrating tools, it quietly suggested that both the farm and outside partners saw him as dependable. That kind of trust is earned slowly, but recognized quickly. But there's another layer most people never think about. Being featured more doesn't just mean opportunity, it means expectation. Thousands of viewers begin recognizing your face. Every decision gets watched. Every mistake would be noticed. Farming is already high stakes behind the scenes. Add an audience, and the pressure multiplies. Yet Brody continued operating the same way he always had, steady, focused, and seemingly unfazed by the extra attention. No sudden personality shift, no chasing camera time, just the same work-first mindset that likely earned him those opportunities in the first place. And that consistency may explain why the team kept leaning on him. Because when things speed up, deadlines close in, and conditions turn unpredictable, you don't hand critical roles to just anyone. Which leads to a bigger realization. Maybe the real story was never about whether Brody was leaving, but about just how central he had quietly become. Here's where the story takes a turn most viewers never stop to consider. The real reason Brody Barr stands out on Larson Farms isn't because of rumors, screen time, or even fan curiosity. It's because he represents something the channel quietly depends on: stability. While big machines and massive harvest days grab the thumbnails, operations like this survive on people who show up ready, adapt fast, and handle pressure without needing recognition. Look closely, and a pattern starts to emerge. When timelines tighten and conditions look unpredictable, certain individuals naturally become the go-to. Not because they demand it, but because the team knows the job will get done right. Brody gives off that exact energy, the kind that doesn't create noise but creates momentum. And in an environment where one delayed decision can snowball into a costly setback, that trait becomes incredibly valuable. What makes this even more interesting is how it reshapes the mystery around him. Maybe the channel never felt the need to spell out his importance because internally it was already understood. On farms, especially multi-generational ones, titles don't always matter. Trust does. And trust is usually built through long days, problem solving, and consistency when nobody's keeping score. There's also a subtle leadership signal that longtime viewers may have picked up on without realizing it. You don't need to be the loudest voice to influence how a crew operates. Sometimes leadership looks like reliability, the person others naturally coordinate with when the workload spikes, so the Untold story might not be about hidden drama at all. It might be about quiet impact. And once you see that, another question starts to form. If Brody is already this essential, what does his future there actually look like?